Welcome to episode 100, and we begin it with the first guest on episode 1, the Mayor President. Roll it, Kyle. Who would have thought at 100 shows later and you're still tolerating me? Blessed to really be coming into your homes or wherever you are. Welcome back to the Clay Young Show here on WBRZ Plus. And our first guest, who was our 50th guest, is now our 100th guest, the mayor of the city of Baton Rouge, the president of East Baton Rouge Parish. How about that, huh? 100.
Well, let me just say congratulations.
Thank you, Madam
We've
Mayor.
done more than tolerated you, Clay. We've appreciated you
all right.
and the show, which started, by the way, just so you know, I'm a data girl here. June 25th, 2021
That
was
is
the
correct.
first show.
That is correct.
And I was so glad to be your first guest, and I am incredibly excited to be your 100th guest.
Listen, I'm proud to have you here and to talk with you about what's happening in our great city. We were having a great conversation before we started. Here we are entering the summer months. So how is Baton Rouge doing? How is East Baton Rouge Parish doing?
Well, you know, as the mayor president, I always say that we are Red Stick Rising. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean that we don't have challenges to work out? Absolutely, we have challenges, but is Baton Rouge a place where I love to call my home and others love to call home? Absolutely. Are we moving in the right direction in terms of our economy, in terms of building equity and inclusion in the fabric of our city, in terms of our water management, even in terms of public safety? Yes, we're moving in the right direction. Of course, in the forefront of a lot of folks' minds is public safety. Mm-hmm. And while we have had challenges in that area, we are working those situations out. I believe our trajectory shows that our principles, our strategies are good, but recently, as you know, and you know, as a leader, you can't be in denial when it comes to the challenges that you face. And so, was I hurt when we recently had that spike in homicides? I was absolutely hurt. You know, you've heard me say time and time again, Clay, I get a call when those homicides.
Yep, every time.
I go to bed praying that I don't get a call saying that someone has lost their lives in Baton Rouge. But does that stop the work? No, it does not. We're continuing on an emphasis of law enforcement, of mental health, and community engagement. Mm-hmm. And we saw that model work for us last year when we saw our homicides decrease by 23%. Mm-hmm. We saw that model work for us this year, in the first quarter of this year, till we had this spike with over 40% reduction in our city.
To what do you attribute the spike? I mean, it was kind of in a vacuum over about 8 days. We saw this just crazy number of shootings. What do you think happened?
Well, you know, Chief Murphy Paul often briefs me and talks to me about some of the intricacies around those situations. Mm-hmm. And many of them, well, I don't want to exaggerate, but a number of them were retaliatory. Mm-hmm. Some were domestic violence. Mm-hmm. And some were self-defense. Right. And so I believe, and I've said this before, Clay, if you associate with like-minded individuals, mm-hmm. if the people in your sphere are people who believe in doing the right thing, nobody's perfect, but if they believe in doing the right thing, the likelihood of you becoming a victim of crime reduces. Mm-hmm. Now, are there all exceptions to the rule? There are exceptions to the rule. You can be doing the right thing, be in the right place, and have something happen to you. And
just be a victim of crime.
And just be a victim. But that's a small percentage.
The chief has talked about that most of today's shooter could become tomorrow's victim, and tomorrow's victim could become the next day's shooter because of this cycle of retaliation. So we're going to talk more. The mayor's here for the entire show. We'll talk more with her about public safety, talk about how Move BR is doing. We haven't talked about that in a little while. What are we doing with infrastructure here in East Baton Rouge Parish? Then the Summer of Hope. You can see by the heat outside, it's the summertime going on. We'll check in on Safe, Hopeful, Healthy to find out what's happening with the city. And then her long-term strategy, not just for the end of this year, but you got some business politically next year.
I think so.
That's right. So the mayor is here for the entire show, talking to Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome on episode 100 of the Clay Young Show. Back in just a moment. Back with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. We went into break talking about public safety. How do you manage the crime perception Baton Rouge has and the way that people language crime here? Because so often when people turn on the TV news or read the newspaper, they see crime and they think that that's all that's happening, that there are 20 shootings every day, crime is rampant, you can't go to the grocery store. And I know you have to deal with those perceptions and their impact on other areas of the city and the parish. Yeah. How are you managing that?
Well, I have to be very transparent with you, Clay. It is often a challenge managing those perceptions because the truth of the matter is I can't compete with the 24 cycle news that goes on. I can't compete with the social media and the alerts and everything. So what can I do? I try to give a balanced view of what's going on in every angle that I can do it, whether it's a community meeting, whether it's our social media pages, whether it's being on the news, being in the newspaper, trying to get the message out. But I will tell you, I like to say that perception is not reality, but the truth of the matter is for many citizens, their perception based on what they see in a heavy dosage. I mean, if you turn on the TV, the news, you would think, that this is Gotham City or something. Right. And it is not Gotham City. Do we have challenges? Yes. So I try to get the accurate information. I try to let people know what we are doing to address crime. For example, our public safety partnership. We've had several press conferences on that where we have the U.S. Attorney's Office involved, the FBI, ATF, DEA, U.S. Marshal's Office, State Police, BRPD, the Sheriff, and so many other constables.
What is that group doing?
And so that group, and that's a very significant effort because it shows that we are not working in silos, that we have a concentrated effort, and that there is a plan, a strategy that this public safety partnership has developed, and we are following that plan and that strategy. Because people often ask me, well, what's the plan? What's the plan? We do have a plan. It's a comprehensive plan. And the public safety partnership has certainly developed a very strong plan, which encompasses a lot of different areas, several of which I talked about earlier. But what you have to remember, Clay, is that law enforcement is not limited to Baton Rouge Police Department. It is not limited to the Sheriff's Department. As I said, law enforcement includes the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the District Attorney's Office, the U.S. Marshals, State Police, and the list goes on and on. And so to be effective, this partnership directed by the U.S. Attorney's Office brought all of our forces together, and we are not operating in silos, but we're operating collaboratively. And that's where you see your biggest impact.
So two things, and Ron Gath is a hard worker and I think has been a great asset for our region. Two things. One, and I hear this from both the sheriff and the police chief, is that they're dealing with a small percentage of bad actors over and over and over again. They're arresting. The chief had a very passionate press conference last week, but it's the same small number that he's dealing with. What do we do about that, Mayor Broome? Because it is the fact that it's only a small percentage that commit a crime, get out, commit another crime. They're arresting them over and over. What do we do about that?
Well, while we cannot lock our way, lock up people and think
Arrest
that's
our way
going
out
to
of the problem.
arrest our way out of the problem, we do have to have accountability
Yep.
for those group of bad actors, aspiring criminals, whatever you want to call them, criminals, etc. Those operating with criminal behavior. We have to have accountability.
Yep.
I believe our citizens expect that accountability.
100%.
I also believe, on the other hand, it's important for us to break that cycle by having programs such as our Summer of Hope, the 15-week program that we are going to have now for community engagement during the summer, where our youth, when our youth are out of school and we see that there tends to be an upward trajectory
Because the
of
kids are out
violence.
on the streets.
Yeah.
Look, I want to hit pause.
Okay.
I do want to talk more about Summer of Hope and then update on where we are with what's happening with drainage and then Move BR. It's been a couple years and you see all the stuff happening around the city. And then just the end of the year and what you expect for the back end of 2023. It's moving like this, Mayor Broome, moving like this. All right, more with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome on episode 100 of The Clay Young Show. Back in just a moment. We're back with Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome, and I believe wholeheartedly, you talked about accountability. I do believe in enforcement. When someone is hell-bent on committing crimes over and over and over again, who are disrupting the peaceful neighborhoods all across our city, not just the affluent ones, but the inner city ones, that they have to be held accountable. I also believe in the balance of investment. I believe in investing in our young people through education and through programs that connect them to whatever their purpose is. I think we have to be even-handed. You can't just be one without the other. So let's talk about smart investment, though. And I know this is, you've got Safe, Hopeful, Healthy, Baton Rouge, and then now the Summer of Hope initiative that is in its second year, right?
Yes.
Second year. And this is about investing in the community, both the families and specifically the youth, correct?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and I want to segue with what you talked about. Clay, the people in North Baton Rouge want the same thing the people in South Baton Rouge.
Say it all the time.
The South Baton Rouge people want the same thing folks in North Baton Rouge. They want a community of peace.
Yeah.
They want a
wanna be
safe community.
Yep.
And so that is why we developed the Safe, Hopeful, Healthy BR. And you can get more information on that at safehopefulhealthybr.com.
Shout out to Autumn.
And
We
so,
got that one right.
Yeah. But the Safe, Hopeful, Healthy BR initiative birthed our Summer of Hope initiative.
Okay.
And the Summer of Hope was started last year when we recognized, okay, we want to be, and you talked about that, proactive, make an investment on the front end so we don't have to end the summer and say, oh, we had this many youth or these many people involved in crimes. And we found out using data that it worked. So our Summer of Hope this year will be 15 weeks of engagement during the summer for our youth who are out of school. And we're going to focus on street outreach. We're going to focus on joy and hope events. People need that. They need an infusion of joy and hope. I think that is something that we deal with the whole perception issue. And I can talk about that later. But we're also going to have community dialogues. We're going to have youth programs. And our theme is peace over everything.
Can we drill down on the youth programs? Like, talk about that a little bit. Like, because that's one of the things that these kids don't have anything to do in a lot of cases. So they're just on the streets. So I know you've got a lot of functions in different parts of the city. Yeah. But what about that?
So one of our major youth initiatives during this Summer of Hope period will be our Mayor's Youth Workforce Experience, where we're putting 500 youth to work.
Hello.
And we're also giving them professional development, so they will have what you talked about, that education. But
Right.
they will have an opportunity to work, to learn about what it means to build a work ethic, and they will get paid. And I also would like to say, it's not too late if you're a business and you want to join us in this Mayor's Youth Workforce Experience. Look, call me at 389-5100, and I'd love to get you
And
involved
that's
in this.
summerofhopebr.com.
Yes, summerofhopebr.com.
All right, I got a thumbs up offset. Let's transition here to Move BR. In the course of us doing this show, and one of the first episodes you were on, we talked about how big this was going to be. Where is it now?
Well, we are making progress with our Move BR, the largest infrastructure and transportation roads project in the history of Baton Rouge.
$1 billion?
Yeah, about $1 billion that the citizens voted on. So we are making progress. You can see some of the signs where we will be doing work, and what we're going to start doing, Clay, I'm going to tell you, we're going to emphasize those areas where the work is being done. Because I don't want anybody to say, Mayor, we've seen that sign up for 12 months now, and we haven't seen any work. So we're going to emphasize, take some of those signs down, and where we're doing the work, you will see the work happening. And listen, roads are a priority for me. I have to tell you, roads are a priority for our citizens. But when we talk about not only roads, we have to talk about infrastructure. And, we talked about the whole water management issue. And so the Comey River is being, we're doing some work in that drainage way. It's one of the most significant projects of our generation. And as of today, love that data, we have had over 16,000 tons of materials that have already been removed from the channel.
I don't know.
And we're clearing efforts covering 3.75 miles.
16,000 tons. I don't know if I should be proud or embarrassed that you had to move that much.
Well,
anyway, I don't want to ask
what. Let's be proud. Let's choose proud.
Let's choose proud.
And we've been doing work in other areas using our American Rescue dollars. We've done about $56 million of stormwater work under our American Rescue Act. We're doing work on Claycut Bayou, Wards Creek Bayou Man Shack. We've also talked about that data, 25 million pounds of debris and 95 miles of stormwater drains and pipes. So we're doing the work.
Good Lord. All right, one more segment with the mayor. Let's have a conversation about all this trash y'all leaving in these. Come on now.
Oh, yes.
Back with one more segment with Mayor Broome. All right, one more segment with Mayor President Broome, and you reminded me of something. I got 4.5 minutes. I'm going to slide this in here. This week, officially on the 1st, began the direct flight between Baton Rouge and Washington, D.C. And I actually had forgotten about that. It's about time, because in January, when we're all up there, this will come in really, really handy. Just kind of tell everybody about that.
Well, we're so excited. I want to thank everybody who played a role in making this happen, from our state legislators to our airport commission members, to our airport, to the city, all of us that played a role in that. We finally have a direct flight from Baton Rouge to Washington, D.C. Now, we had some a gazillion years ago, but we now have one going, starting, as you said, it started this week.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, and so I believe that's a game changer for us. Because not only do people go to D.C. for those special events like you talked about in January.
That would be Washington Mardi Gras people.
Yeah, you said it. And so, but also, individuals like business. I have to go see our congressional delegation. Our congressional delegation now has
a direct way
to come home, so that they can spend more time with the constituents.
Listen, I was there 4 times last year, and I would much rather be landing here in Baton Rouge.
Oh, I would too.
So listen, who do we got? We used to have a flight to Shreveport too. Can we work that in somewhere along the way?
Well, that's another conversation. I don't know about that. You can drive to Shreveport.
It's a 15.5-hour drive.
No, it's not.
Okay, it's 3.5 hours, and it's especially take my word for it. Don't speed through Livonia. Don't do that. All right. So in the last 3.5 minutes here, let's talk about the end of 2023. Why should a person living in East Baton Rouge Parish, or specifically in the city of Baton Rouge, be optimistic?
A person living in the city should be optimistic because of the generation, the young generation of entrepreneurs that are moving forward in our city and having phenomenal events to talk about the positive things that are going on. They are our future, and they see a bright future for us. And, people should be excited because we're about to announce soon some new initiatives when it comes to entertainment venues and bringing concerts to Baton Rouge. People should be excited because we're cleaning up Baton Rouge with our Brighten Up Baton Rouge campaign. So I believe that we have a lot to look forward to. Baton Rouge is home. I can't think of another place in the United States of America or abroad, and I've been to a lot of places, that I want to be other than the great city of Baton Rouge.
I'd agree. And you look, we got about 90 seconds left. So I think you've already said it, but I'm going to ask here clearly. Next year, you are running again.
That is the plan.
That is the game plan going into next year. Does that affect anything, knowing that you are going to be running, when you think about?
No, well, you know, listen, of course, right now, my focus is getting the job done. I believe when a leader shows tangible evidence of getting the job done, of being committed, then the rest will take care of itself. So my focus is not on that. My focus is on the work. When I go into that office every day, I'm like, what is it that needs to get done to help improve the quality of life for our citizens? So that's foremost in my mind.
30 seconds, what's your number one goal to finish out this year?
My number one goal is to see a constant decline in criminal activity in our community, and to see an elevated public safety presence.
I like it. We want a safe Baton Rouge, and I appreciate you being guest number 100 on, well, not guest number 100, the only guest for episode 100. Thank you so much.
Congratulations once again. We'll be tuning in for 101.
That's right, that's right. And 101 is next week. Thank y'all so much. God bless and have a safe weekend.